My answer was simple. There's only one way to do that, and that's reduce scope. You've got X number of square footage. You have to reduce something. Repairing the roof, I'm not saying is the best option. I'm just saying that's a significant savings if you're willing to work and maintain that roof for a series of years. I walked it again just the other night. It's an older metal roof. With some repair, would it last another 10 years? It probably would. It might go further. But it's an older roof. Probably should be replaced in a 20, 25-year scenario. Doesn't mean it has to be. It's your building. So if given that, if it was my building and I wanted a 20-year solution and I wanted a new roof and I only wanted to spend $1 million, I've got to do a couple of things. I've either got to really limit what I do to renovate for the co-op space, because that was a 400 or so thousand from memory. And the reason that was $400,000 is because it was pretty much, it was abating asbestos, and it was a complete do-over of their heating and air system, new roof on top. I won't say shiny new finishes, but it pretty much fresh paint, some new flooring, so it looked like a professional office for the next 20-year run. If they could move in there with paint and existing systems and maybe just the roof over their head, then obviously you can save a lot of money. An easy way to spend well less than $1 million, in my opinion, would be, if this does not function, if this either politically or financially doesn't work. Someone suggested the scenario back a few months ago, and at first we hadn't looked at it. I know it came up at the November delegation meeting, was what if you not only take the wings down, what if you take down the front end of this building, or some portion of? Some folks even said, what if we took off the back? To give you guys the information, you have basic needs. Pellet boiler, maintenance, and maybe laundry. Laundry because you do in-house personals for your residents. Now if there's another solution, I don't know what the right answer is there. The idea of this renovation was to improve that laundry, to give it better flow and separate clean and dirty laundry. Give the co-op a space, the pellet boiler its room, maintenance and area for storage, repair, and so forth. If you did not improve this laundry, kept it just as it is today, you kind of need and took down a portion of the front of the building, the likely portion to keep is the back. The reason is gas comes in this building this way, water comes in this building this way, all utilities and electric come in, your transformer is here, so you want to keep that piece of the building as the guts, if you save it. What do you do with it? From everything I've heard, and I'm not saying any one is a good idea or a bad idea, I've heard 101 ideas. The obvious thing is Bob needs a place for maintenance and for repair. I think everybody agrees with that. Laundry I'm not going to touch. I'm going to let you guys decide on that one. Pellet boiler needs a house. What if we just strike a line right there and keep this box? And if you did that, you would take down this whole front. Co-op is now out, but you now have a service and utility building that does nothing but maintenance, pellet boiler, and laundry. You can go build a metal building for, as Mark says, I would agree with him, somewhere in the $100 range. Just a metal building. But if you start putting a laundry in it, you're going to need better utilities, equipment, and that sort of stuff. You start to run those numbers up. I'm saying you have what I believe is a sound building here. It's masonry. It's not a metal-sided building. It's solid. Why not use it? You certainly could put a metal building in the same location. No reason why you couldn't. You could actually even complete the pellet boiler and build up and over it if you had to. Had I known we were going this direction, I'm not sure we would have gone this far down the road. We do have a little bit of an issue here with this pellet boiler, in the sense that I'm in the middle of it, obviously, because I have a contract. The downside is I have contracts downstream to all my subs. This is, if we stop this for 6 months or a month or whatever, we've got an issue. And that's not good for any of us. But beside that, those are the needs, and I guess the idea would be you could reduce this building, put a brand new roof on it, and have a pretty good utility space for all those other needs. The one thing it excludes, any future expansion, which I think is kind of already going anyway with the wings being voted off, you just don't have the co-op. But that, I guarantee you, is well under $1 million. That's the price I could put together very quickly.
Thank you. If I could.
Yes.
If the break was to be made at that point,
here,
which is probably something in the neighborhood of 10,000 square feet left, just roughly looking at that.
So that's right.
Okay.
About two-thirds.
So somewhere near 10,000 square feet. If the laundry remained the same or expanded a little back, then it would appear to me that you still have the availability of, what, 3,000 square feet of office space of some type?
I think if you, again, not to put ideas in folks' heads, just what I've heard over the last couple of years of working with you folks, you have containers out back that house, if I'm not mistaken, records. They house maintenance equipment and stuff. You could put record storage in here, you could put maintenance, you've got rooms for office, for storage. You still have options because you could very simply gut that old kitchen. You've got all that dining room space to be configured any way you see fit. It could be just kept hollow for now.
But it also could be perhaps up to 3,000 square feet of rentable space.
Oh, sure. I think it, yeah.
That's my point. Representative Merrill.
Two questions. One, when you give a demolition cost, does that include removal of the debris, or is that separate?
When they quote that, they're taking that all away.
They take it all away?
The original quotes you had that go back quite a ways were from Always, I think was the low bid originally. And David helped me, what were they, 150-ish thousand if you took both sides down? It was like 50 some odd plus maybe asbestos, 50 or 60,000 for each pair of wings.
It was almost equal cost to board up what you took down.
Agree, yeah.
My second question is,
And they would be hauling away.
if you took the front off,
Correct.
and if you go to where it says the yellow there, the maintenance shop,
Way up here?
way up the next one.
The only reason
No. See the one that says maintenance shop, up on the right-hand side,
Here,
yeah.
yep.
If you drew a line right straight across there, okay?
Where are we looking? Here?
Yeah, right at the top of the maintenance shop, just right, yeah, just extend that line right across.
Yep.
You've still got room for offices and some storage in there. Could you not put the co-op in the back of the building?
To put the co-op back is going to be fairly extensive unless they're just an open space. You're still going to need to do the toilets and things like that. That could be looked at, I suppose. I mean, I don't know if that works well for them, but it's possible. I thought you meant you were going to put a wall here and take this off, and I was going to say, I wouldn't do that because of the
I was going to put a wall
extensive.
there and maybe put the co-op behind it. That's what I was thinking.
Just a quickie too, the reason that we're picking this line, it isn't just at random. Looking at the old drawing since the last meeting, this is a bearing line right here for steel.
Okay.
There's also a possibility, looking at the old drawings, and I don't know that for sure, but there may even be a foundation here that goes deep. It appears like it might have on the drawings. Today you wouldn't do that, you'd have that shallow. If that's deep, that would be great, because that could become your outside foundation. And all you have to do is skin it. You'd have to put a pretty face.
I think the point is, Representative Merrill, that if we were to remove somewhere near 5,000 square feet of the main structure of the core, and with the requirements that we're looking at are somewhere shy of 5,000 square feet, that there still could possibly be 3,000 square feet of something, some sort of expansion, whether that worked for the co-op, whether that worked for someone else,
Possibilities.
whether the commissioners decide that space is better used. That I believe is the option.
That 84 section, I believe we have here noted, was about 6,000 feet. And 84 is the line, roughly the line you're referring to. The old building ended right there. And from here up, this back piece was, we had 70 feet by 80, roughly 88 feet. So it was almost 6,000 square feet of almost open space. It's the kitchen and the dining room combined.
And also to finish that, it may, if that were to become the scenario of favor by the subcommittee, by the delegation, by the commissioners, then the commissioners then would have to make a decision whether the expansion of what is being shown for entirely for the maintenance is the proper use for that space, or whether maybe they should be using some other space. Perhaps the co-op extension, whoever, may not need standalone facilities for meetings, and perhaps they could get by with smaller. I'll come to you, Commissioner. And if I could, let me go to Representative first.
Yes, well, you're not going to believe this, but I like that idea, to tell you the truth. I really do.
It came to me in the night.
I have just one question, and then, well, actually I have two. One is, where you drew that line, I understand that when they added on to the old building, that there is a full foundation across there.
This would have been an old outside wall here.
Now, is it possible that we could remove everything below that full foundation
I'll keep the box here.
and just keep that back there?
The only reason I avoided that is the investment that you've already got. And when I say that, you wouldn't have to change electric, from what we know right now, you shouldn't have to change your electric service,
Okay, I
right?
got that.
Electric is here.
Generators and everything.
Water, generator that's feeding your existing sewer down below, all those little incidentals that we're not thinking of when we look at this schematically, you shouldn't have to change. You own them and they stay intact, and we shouldn't be disturbing them.
Okay, then my second question is, and if we do this, you mentioned you could do it for less than $1 million.
I believe you can.
You believe we
I've
can?
got to sit down and do that estimate, go back and get my guys on it, and just have them kind of reawaken that old stuff from the last November meeting.
Now,
I believe you can.
what about the 375? Is that?
That would not be, not necessarily, I don't believe
It would
that's,
be $1 million above that.
that's what I'm thinking,
Separate-
but when we
separate
go
issue.
through this, if this was just a maintenance building, and it's not an office space initially, comes the question, would you want to put the new roof on it, or would you want to buy 10 years with your metal roof? Go up and put 10 grand in the repairs and leave it alone. I mean, those are big questions because you're looking at a 10,000 foot space that if you go, when we gave you that budget to re-roof the whole thing, we were putting on insulation, a good quality membrane roof, that type of thing. Those are things you could kind of swap and trade as a committee and say, geez, you know, maybe we buy 10 years and we put that money to something else. If it's 20-year outlook office space, I wouldn't recommend that. For maintenance space and storage and things, maybe it's a consideration.
Okay.
Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Thank you, and I'd just like to add, any solution, I believe if we're expending monies that we're bonding and using that money, I would certainly like to see that we're looking at a 20-year solution.
That's kind of where I would lean in recommendations. If you are borrowing, you should be.
I'll
looking
come
at
back
One
it.
further question. I think you may have answered it, but I probably didn't hear you. Go back to that yellow line on top of the maintenance shop right there. Yeah, you draw a line right across there. Would it be feasible to tear down everything beyond that and leave the front?
Here,
Tear that down and then leave where it says co-op. Would that be?
the only issue I have with that is it's darn costly to close up these sidewalls. When we take down these wings, we have a gaping hole in the building. And not just a wall, we need a foundation to protect it from frost. We have utilities going out into these wings, we've got to dissect and cap and cut off electric and all that. Every time we dissect a building, we get the same scenario. Now we've got 3 big holes to fill, and I suspect that's going to get costly.
Representative Pengill?
I did have a hand up.
Yeah, I'm just trying to work through the subcommittee. I also have the commissioner.
Oh, I thought that the last meeting, when we gave $1 million figure, it included the $350,000 deficit of the building.
No,
I thought that's what we had just
the
said.
last subcommittee meeting was discussion, were 2 separate items. One was the pellet boiler and one was the building. So I'm not of the impression that the 375 had to be included in the $1 million. Yes.
Isn't the excess $350,000, the installation, a really big part of this whole cost?
I'm not clear on it, I'm sorry.
And as far as-
Our contract at 375 for
The-
the pellet
the-
system? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, the installation cost. Isn't that a big part of the fixing of the building to prepare it by bringing the
No, most of that cost would occur wherever that's located.
that $375,000 is a cost for
I
that
don't know the number
run?
off the top of my head, but the bulk of that cost would occur no matter where if it was here, or over in the field across the way. It doesn't matter. You've already got piping in the ground to this location,
Right.
and you've got to prepare a boiler room, a fire-rated wall.
That's all it is, it's preparation of the boiler room.
Well, no, but the bulk of the cost is there's mechanical, there's controls, there's all the integration, there's work in the boiler room of the new building, there's work over there's work in tying in the old boilers as well. It's a pretty extensive control system. I know everybody keeps thinking hooking up. It's not plugging in. It's not. If it was, you wouldn't need me.
Okay. Thank you. Representative Fleck.
All right, thank you. Since we're really trying to decide this on the basis of economies,
Yes.
I would still like to see a plan at the lowest cost that does not involve raising any portion of the building and to do what we would want to do within the core. So we might end up with a 20-year facility. But we're obviously spending money on demolition. What happens if we don't do the demolition, but focus the rehab on the core?
Yeah.
I would like to see
I'm
figures on
happy
that.
to do whatever the majority wants me to do.
I'm not a member
I
of
just-
the subcommittee. I'm not acting as a member of the subcommittee now.
Right.
But as a member of the delegation, that would be one thing that I would like to see. I would like to see a scenario that focuses on rehab core, allow the rest of the building to stand. I think there's considerable saving to be made, and I don't see that there is, as I pointed out before, any hazard involved by allowing it to stand.
Representative Umberg?
There's no question.
I would suggest that when the commissioners work with Bonnet, Page, and Stone, they come up with several different scenarios and costs. You don't have to have one, you don't have to have two, but you have to have 5.
If I leave these wings on, am I going to get crucified?
I'm just telling you.
You are by the subcommittee.
I'm just telling you that there are options that the commissioners need to look at. I don't think that we should tell the commissioners what options they need to look at.
This is to bring it to the subcommittee level before it went to the delegation. Is that what
Right,
yeah.
right. And so we will, you know, if you want to bring one in that says leave up the wings, we're going to save $200,000, fine, leave up the wings. If, you know, if we want to plant blueberries where the wings are, then it's probably not a good idea to leave up the blueberries. I mean, to leave up the wings. All I'm saying is that the only thing that we have ever asked for is $1 million plan. I don't care what the $1 million plan looks like, as long as we have,
Serves the needs.
you know, the $1 million plan, and you can choose between A, B, C, or D, you know, so that we can come up with a recommendation. I mean,
Representative Schmidt.
Just one comment on the wings, because we had extensive testimony, if you will, discussion on. Now, my understanding was, unless you want to heat those wings for the next 20 years, we have a fire sprinkler system, I believe this gentleman explained to us, would have to be maintained. You can't be cutting it. If you did cut it in mothball, then your insurance issues come to bear. It convinced me at the time that if you're going to maintain the central core, then the wings really did not become viable, and they're best taken down.
Thank you, Representative Schmidt. That is what my opinion is also. I want to get to Commissioner Solomon. Frank, is there something on the point?
Well, going along with what Representative Fleck said and Representative Umberg has said about getting the commissioners to get, we've already done that. I would rather see us sit down and say, okay, these are the 3, maybe 4 options that we have. Write out the specifications and put those out. Forget about the $375,000 that's in question right now for installing the boiler and preparing the room for the boiler. Take those 4 options or 3 options, whatever we come up with the specifications, and put them out on a bid. And say, okay, the pellet boiler is already there, it's already installed, discount it. These are the 3 or 4 options. What will you charge us to do that?
Thank you. Yes.
Just a quick on that. Just so everybody knows, I'm simply your consultant, and I'm here hired on a very minimal basis. This is totally separate from the nursing home to help you come up with a solution, right? We would help you put this out to bid. If you want to do something separate, that's fine with me. But technically, that's what we're here for. When I give you numbers, I'm not giving you numbers that say it's going to cost the county that much money. Once that's the direction we pick, just like the nursing home, we're going to work with a designer and finalize it and get this all to be as effective and cost effective as we can for you. So we're kind of your agent, I guess, in that case.
Okay.
If
Thank
that
you.
makes sense.
Yep. No, thank you, Mr. Remick. Commissioner Solomon, please.
I just wanted to make sure that when you are looking at what you're going to be using this building for, whatever building you have left, that in it you are, and I think I did finally hear that the generator equipment for the sewer plant is being considered. There is a future need for central purchasing and distribution. And there is the need for storage of equipment, building supplies, medical records. All of these things are presently either in the dining room or in outdoor storage. So these are things that we must consider when we are thinking of what will be what the use of this building will be. But I keep hearing conflicting arguments here. Will we keep it? Will we keep? We have make a decision, and just so that we know where we're going. Make a decision as to whether we're going to keep the building, not keep the building. To continue to have Randy go and make plans, and then the next day we hear that you're not going to keep. You have some other idea. It's not very. It doesn't make for a good planning.
Thank you, Commissioner. The recommendation of this committee, as I see it, is different than the recommendation by Representative Fleck. The direction that I believe the subcommittee is at is that the wings are coming down. We're liking the idea of shortening the building, making use of systems that are already in place, and eventual freeing up of 3,000 to 4,000 square feet of some other space. And then the commissioners, if the delegation agrees, then the commissioners will have the decision to reallocate how much space you want to reserve for maintenance. Seems to be our only one in laundry. So that is the direction that's coming from this subcommittee. And I don't hear any other point in a majority view.
Mark, I'm not, this was our direction, but I'm not sure it is. Based on the comments that Frank just made and the comments that Representative Umberger just made, where you come up with 4 different scenarios, if you can do it with under $1 million, then I don't think that we're saying do this one thing as you just mentioned. If they can come up with 4 or 5 different things, let's look at them, then you can make a decision as to which one you want to do. I like Frank's idea, Representative McCarthy's idea of doing that, and I like your idea of saying, you got $1 million, let me see what you suggest. And if you suggest something different and it looks better under than that, let's look at it. Just to take a look at it.
Let's back up then, Representative. Discussion by the subcommittee. Am I correct in the assumption that we know that the 1.8 million's out, that the recommendation at this point to the delegation is that the commissioners come back with at $1 million, which is what we were directed as our charge. And it would appear the only option available to us right now to come in at $1 million or less is to remove the 4 wings, to shorten the buildings to some configuration that makes sense, with the direction that the roof system and whatever is done should have a life expectancy of at least 20 years because the money's going to be bonded. That is what I understand the recommendation of this subcommittee at this time to be. If there are other ideas that the commissioners and Bonapage and Stone want to come back with on their own, then that would be their option. But I'm trying to focus our discussion as to what the opinion of the majority of this subcommittee is. Discussion on that.
The only thing I would say is that if they have other options that they want to present,
Yeah, we gotta look at them.
We ought to look at them. If they don't want to present other options,
Then we don't look at them.
then we don't look at them.
Yeah.
And, the only thing that we have asked for is the cost. The other thing that we wanted was the cost of a standalone building. And that, I think, beyond that.
The 2 items.
Those were,
Yeah.
the 2 items. And, if they want to bring us something different, another thing, that's fine too.
How do we look at it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with what they're saying, but personally, I would really like to see an in-depth cost analysis on what your idea will cost the county. And then if we want to go from there and add on to it and say that we want to keep the front or whatever, that's different. But what you pointed out, the gentleman pointed out just now, I'd like to see an in-depth cost analysis, and let's get on with it.
So let's hash out the details of what we're speaking here in a motion.
Okay. One is BPS proposal. Or I would just say draft proposal, because it's not a proposal. It's
For
just
the committee.
a draft proposal. Number 2 is a standalone facility.
Okay, that's fine. Let's go through for discussion.
Yeah. and just get, okay, what else?
I'd like to be specific to the point that we're asking Bonnet, Page and Stone to provide a draft bid not to exceed $1 million.
Okay, I thought that was,
That includes removal of the 4 wings, related cost of restoration from that area, a shortening or demolition of the building, of the core building, that will allow pellet boiler, laundry of some configuration, maintenance, and roughly 3,000 square feet of unspecified office space.
do you want to call it office space? Or
Just shell space, basically.
You want office space?
Unspecified.
Space.
Unspecified.
Space.
Okay. So I can cross that.
I agree with that, but before you make the motion, the commissioners, I guess, are gonna have to pay for this. Where is this is gonna cost them quite a bit probably to do this. Where's the money come from? Where do we take it? Where do you get the money?
That's the commissioner's issue.
They have it.
Well, it is if, it isn't if they don't have it. That's my only question. Is the money floating around somewhere to do this, or isn't it?
We can do this.
You can do it? Okay, good.
Not a big deal.
Good, okay.
May I?
In
With
the
a vote
same
of
sort of-
two- With a vote of 2/3 of the delegation, they can use what's left over from the bond for the new hospital, or for the new nursing home.
Okay. yeah.
2/3 vote,
Right,
they
yeah.
they can.
Okay.
But to run the estimate scenario for you, we're not gonna charge you anymore for that.
Right.
So we
All
can
right.
do that.
Okay. Is there any other point to that?
Well, okay, the only other thing is, do we want to look at not tearing down anything?
If they come in with it. If they come in with that suggestion under that fee.
Do we want that as an option for them to come back with?
Didn't we say let them come back with any option they want?
I think we're giving a recommendation as the subcommittee. Somebody else wants something else, I think they ought to make a
If they want to come back in with another option, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Discussion by the subcommittee? Representative Pengill?
How does this get presented as a bid process, or does it?
Oh, that'll be later.
That'll be later. There's simply, it's from my understanding, Bonnet, Page and Stone is going to crunch some numbers using standard textbook numbers. They're going to use their expertise that they've gained on this building over now, and they're going to then just simply come back and say, it looks like we could probably do this, or we can't do this.
You've
And
technically.
then they're going to move forward from there.
And you advertised and they solicited proposals for what we're doing for you right now, was put out to bid many, many months ago. That was put out, you had proposals, we were hired separately for this, consulting to try to figure out, as was EGA on the study. We basically did our work off EGA's study that was, I don't know what, a year ago.
So you have a budget.
I'm sorry?
So you have a budget.
Yeah, roof
For our work?
Yes.
Let's add that.
What was our, I think we were like, I think all the work we've been doing on this thing over the last, I don't know how long, was like $15,000. We're so far over that now, it's we're donating.
Yeah,
But that's okay.
Thank you. Representative McCarthy, I'll come back to you.
Recognizing that you are a consultant and you are going to come in with this, that we're asking for, that does not preclude us from putting out bids to see if we can get something done a little bit less, right?
That's correct.
That's correct.
Technically, I think you hired us as your construction manager for this project. If, I'm not gonna
That's,
fight that.
I
If you want,
think,
that's up to,
no, I think we're perfectly happy where we are at this point. The representative has just raised a question of concern.
I'm not saying we'll do it, I'm just saying it doesn't preclude us from doing it.
Thank you.
Representative
I don't want to muddy this up at all, and that's not my
And
intention.
that would be my hope also.
I think that the delegation really wants to move forward.